Welcome to episode 3 of our podcast series. And today we're going to be focusing on building a climate confidence. My name's Andrea. I am the head of training at Positive Planet, and I'm joined today by Sonia and Amy from Couch to Carbon Zero, who are specialists in workforce engagement on sustainability. Welcome, ladies.
Thanks,
Hello.
Andrea.
Hello, everybody.
Yay. And we're here today to look at how to make your organisation, workforce, feel climate confident. Because many of our clients at Positive Planet are working towards a net zero plan. And getting to net zero is a great intention, but how do we go about turning all that lovely intention into real action? And having leadership and workforce engagement and motivation in carbon reduction is key. In fact, you might remember from our first episode, Stephen discussed how one of the main reasons that sustainability programs fail is down to poor communication and buy-in. So that's why we've decided to focus today on how to build that confidence around turning intent into action. It may well be that you have a sustainability lead within your organisation, and you might have had that role for some time, or you might have just recently been given that responsibility. Either way, should you have any specific queries or questions, hopefully this session might help you. And please use the chat where we're going to see if we can try and answer your questions and see how we can support you more with this. So, how can you start to build climate confidence across your workforce in your net zero carbon reduction plans? Well, we sat down and had a chat about this, and we've identified 3 stages of climate confidence throughout your workforce to really unlock all your organisation's potential. But what are these 3 stages? We identified that you could go on a journey with these stages. And the first stage of this is foundational confidence, where employees are starting to understand the science, understand your organisation's targets, and begin to feel a sense of urgency and power to act on your net zero plans. Next stage along is the functional confidence, where sustainability and carbon reduction actions really start to become embedded in an organisation. And perhaps you have a really thriving green team, it's well established, and the workforce is really starting to understand what they can do within their roles to reduce carbon emissions. And then finally, we've got the trailblazer confidence, where organisations are widening their impact and share what they're learning within their sector and wider communities. But before we get started, what do we think are the key things that can stop organisations moving along this journey? Amy, Sonia, what have you seen in your work are the key barriers to getting climate confident?
Yeah, we have so many clients come to us who are super passionate about making a difference in their organisation, and they know that getting buy-in is absolutely key. But the common things that they talk about come up literally all the time, and they can look like a few things. So one is leadership buy-in, and what that can look like is feeling thwarted from above, or not getting the budget and resource it needs, or actually it not being a clearly embedded priority for the business. And of course, that's all really tricky. Another thing is that teams are just too busy. You know, they've got BAU, they've got really hectic, stressful lives. They just don't have the bandwidth to think about saving the planet on top. So either it's literally just not on radar, or if it is, the sentiment can be, well, it's your job, isn't it? It's a sustainability person's job.
Yeah, right. And then even if there is bandwidth, people can often feel too small to make a difference. So you've got this kind of general disbelief that they can do anything about it. And for our client contacts themselves, they can sometimes struggle to get space on the busy corporate calendar in amidst all the other comms and initiatives that the organization's committed to. So those are some of the barriers that we hear, but we'd love to hear from people on the line today. So if you're here live and you can throw in some of your barriers in the comments, that would be great. So whether that's leadership buy-in, staff being too busy, time and resources, it being hard to get people's attention, maybe something else, sort of do let us know. We'd love to hear it in the chat, and happy to answer any questions at the end.
And if you're looking to boost your climate confidence or break down common engagement barriers, do visit our Eventbrite page and sign up for our Carbon Literacy Action Day courses, which are taking place around the country in Manchester, London, Edinburgh and Cardiff. And you can get involved in something that's going to be really special, something that's going to be bigger, bolder and better than before. So let's get on with those 3 levels of confidence and see what they look like in practice. From my experience as a sustainability trainer, I would say that foundational confidence looks like getting the key people responsible for net zero and carbon reduction feeling really equipped with the latest knowledge on the climate science and ecological emergency. It means understanding the context around the climate emergency and being really clear on what the goals and targets that have been set. Now, depending on your background, you might want to build your own confidence at this foundational level. And a great tool to do this is to attend the Carbon Literacy Training course. Now, this is a day's worth of learning, either in person or online, that will give you an awareness of the carbon dioxide costs and impacts of everyday activities and the ability and motivation to reduce emissions on an individual, community and organisational basis. And you know, the really great news is that carbon literate individuals reduce their carbon footprints by between 5 and 15%. And that's really powerful. And it's a great tool to build confidence in climate science and understand why businesses and organisations are required to reduce their emissions and regulations around this. And you might want to invite, some of your team members or perhaps your green team or leadership team to engage with this, as well as getting these key personnel all on the same page. Sonia, Amy, what do you think are your views around this stage?
Yeah, so understanding where we're at as a world, as you just said, Andrea, is totally crucial. And you've also got to know and truly believe that you can make a difference and understand exactly what to do and how to do it. So for us, the first step, the doorway through to that is it's actually really helping people feel it. So as humans, we respond emotionally. That's what swings us into action. We've got to truly connect to the states to want to give it our energy. So as an example of that, we were launching a 10-day sprint with a media company, and the CEO was doing the introduction. And in it, he shared a story of the moment things changed for him. So he told us about his elderly mum who lives in Italy and basically can no longer go outside in the summer because it's just too hot. So she's totally housebound till dusk. And for him, it was not what's on the news every day. It's not the stats, it's not the science. Actually, that made him put it front and center for their company. It was his mom. And it was a really powerful moment. I don't think anyone listening in the audience will ever forget that. Greenies, non-greenies, we're all the same. We respond emotionally. So at the core of what we're doing with people is really helping them connect to their own why. That's where we begin, because when you tap into that intrinsic motivation, then it's no longer a tick box. They're in, they want to, it's their thing.
And whilst that's like gold, once you are connected and you truly understand the stakes, it can leave you feeling a bit overwhelmed and immobilized. Mm-hmm. And as we said before, people often do feel too small to make a difference, or that it's for businesses and government to do something about it. So we've got this Climate 101 that we do, and in it we do a little quiz where we ask the audience how much of the emissions reductions we need in the UK rely on action by individual households. And the answer is 32%. And so they're often really taken aback at that when they realise that actually, far from being small in this story, it can't be done without us all. And that's always a really exciting moment. And when you add to that just how easy it can be, if we all weigh in to turn things around, that's when everyone starts to get this sense of what's really possible. So inspiring and energising people straight off the back of the science is really important.
Yeah, so they understand the science, they've truly connected, and they've got a whiff of their own power. And so the next step is hot on the heels of that to really equip everyone with what they can actually do. So that's a really vital piece. I don't know whether you feel that too. So, we make that central to absolutely everything, whether it's our 10-day sprint. And by the way, that's not 10 full days, that's 5 minutes a day, or our 60-minute Climate 101. The whole thing is, right, let's make it easy for really busy people to take tangible impactful action. So if, for example, we're talking about changing to a greener bank or truly understanding food labeling, which quite frankly, sometimes you need a PhD for, so you actually know what's a planet-friendly choice. So we give them the lowdown in a nutshell. Here's what's going on, guys. Here's what you need to know. And then give them cheat sheets and links if they need it so that they can follow through. So we're just removing those barriers all the time so that people can join in. So then by the end of it, you've got that magic, haven't you? You people understand it, they feel it, they've got a sense of their power, and they've done stuff. So, the result is, doing stuff feels great, doesn't it? So they feel informed, they feel proud. And of course, when we feel things like that, we tell other people, and so it begins.
Yeah, and so that's like when true confidence comes. And I think this is such a relief, particularly for leaders. Like, how on earth do you get your team thinking sustainably if you haven't done it yourself? So the confidence that comes from walking the talk, you just can't beat it. And of course, confidence then breeds confidence, and you've got this culture of can do. So for you, whether you start with your leaders, your green teams, or your whole workforce, and we've done a whole mix of all of that, that's first base. We truly believe for sustainable change to happen in the workforce, people must really connect with it in their own lives. And the thing is, when we work in this space, we can be in a bit of an echo chamber where we assume that people know all this stuff, but so many don't. So that's really where we need to start.
Well, thank you, Amy and Sonia. That was really insightful, and I'm sure our listeners are going to find that really interesting. Shall we move along now to this next phase that we've identified, the functional confidence? Because I think at this stage, this is about getting the key people within the organisation that have got that foundational knowledge and feeling really empowered. They take it at that next step, move to the next level. And I think this includes maybe having further training and engaging with the wider teams, and maybe getting some industry specific or role specific training, maybe within your finance teams or HR or marketing teams, where they can really start to understand their roles really clearly on their sustainability journeys. You might want to widen out that carbon literacy training if that's something you've taken up across the organisation, and really start to embed carbon reduction into some perhaps key processes like performance management, or making some of your KPI and key metrics around carbon reduction. You might want to consider, because if you did those things, becoming a carbon literate organisation, which can be a really powerful sort of badge for you. Now, hopefully at this stage, your green teams are really fully established, and you've got people queuing up to want to come and join those teams. They're expanding. And what we're seeing is at this stage, people across the organisation, not only are they, doing what's part of their job and role, but they're feeling really excited about taking action on carbon reduction. And I think it's that energy and excitement that's really important at this stage. And I saw this recently with a client of ours, Hotel Shop, because about 12 months ago, their managing director just attended one of our scheduled courses, and she kept in touch. We went back and started to, she told us about some of the carbon reduction measures that they'd started to introduce at her business. And she wanted more people to have the training. So we worked with them to build a travel sector-specific carbon literacy training course. And we recently went down and delivered that to quite a large number of their employees. And when we left that day, they were buzzing. They had so many ideas, and they were so excited to want to start to really take action around this. And this is why I feel that this is an organisation becoming really functionally confident around carbon reduction. And I would say that if you're at this stage and you're thinking of or wanting to get to this stage, to develop a carbon literacy course or to attend carbon literacy training or any sort of sustainability training, a really key piece of sort of advice is to really get the right people in the room, have that cross-sectional mix of people. Because if you just get all the people who are already enthusiastic in the green team, you're probably preaching to the converted or teaching to the converted, as I would say. What we need is to get someone from that sort of leadership director level, maybe someone from some business finance who've got some sort of measure on procurement. maybe a site manager who knows where the radiators and boilers need managing and where those reductions really are important. And these people need to be in the room together when they're having this sort of level of training. And I think maybe someone who's got some governance or oversight of the governance within there. And if you can go on and get up to 15% of your workforce carbon literate, this is going to help your organisation become what's called certified carbon literate organisation. Sonia, Amy, what do you think, from your point of view, sits in this functional phase of confidence?
Yeah, we get really excited when this happens because it means that first phase has been a success. So when we do our 10-day sprint with clients, we basically cover a different area of impact each day, as Sonia said, in those sort of sub 5-minute videos. And without fail, it starts this ripple effect into functional confidence because people naturally join the dots with what they've learned to how they can apply it in their roles and in the organization. So to bring that to life a bit, one of our clients was a technology company, and one of their IT managers had watched the day where we talk about gadgets and basically how we need to start treating them as treasure because it's full of rare and finite minerals that we need for the green future. And it made him think, we throw out a skip full of gadgets every month. Maybe we could be doing something different to keep that in circulation, partnering with a community organization, for example. So I love this because he then spurred that on with the help of the head of sustainability. And what's great is that's when you're truly getting sustainability out of the silo in an organization, like really being owned by the workforce. So when you get to the point when you're looking to address circularity, for example, in your business, you've got employees who really get it. And then there was this other example. We worked with a charity, and again, when they were actually preparing for the sprint, they watched our pensions video, and it gave them the impetus and inspiration to really review their own pension provision as an employer. And they've now switched to one that offers green investments. And what we love in all of this is this real sense of transparency that this brings. So like employees and the organization working together to identify the areas for improvement and explore solutions. And of course, it's not always easy, right? Like there's not going to be an immediate solution for everything that crops up, but that's not really the point. The point is feeling confident enough to have the conversations and to see what's possible. So that's from my side. Sonia, anything that you'd add to that?
Well, I'd just add that one of the key things that we want to get across to people is for everyone to know that they're much, much more than an environmental footprint. You know, whatever your role, whoever you are, you've got basically heaps of influence. And so, you know, one of the most powerful things that we can have in life is an internal compass. So one of the things that we ask the audience to think about is, so what's your true north question? And to give you an example of what we mean by that, you may have come across this, but so faith in nature, every employee at every decision point asks themselves this question, which is, what would nature say? And it's just brilliant, isn't it? Because it just cuts through absolutely everything. You can't argue with it. So whether you're in accounts or in marketing or ops, where, you know, wherever you are, you've got your true north, and you might find yourself interrogating things differently. So, you know, maybe from the suppliers you choose to the menu you have at your events, whatever it happens to be. And that's what living and breathing it feels like. So I don't know for your organizations, what would a simple and powerful question be that maybe something for you to think about that your employees could ask themselves? So to give you another example of that, just in case that helps, we saw that absolutely brilliantly done at a publishing organization that we worked with. And so their key guiding question for their editorial staff was, has this article been written in a climate emergency, as a sort of self-inquiry? So for example, does our cooking section have a good selection of plant-based recipes in the right proportion for what they should be right now? Are we really using this opportunity to change the narrative? So it's so easy, it's so powerful. But what's brilliant about it, of course, is that it puts a responsibility into everyone's hands. It puts agency into everyone's hands, and which is really how it should be. I mean, we can't delegate this thing. You know, we've all got to pitch in. So all of that comes from a solid foundation and true connection, we believe.
Thank you for that, Sonia and Amy. And it was so interesting to hear. And I know we've had a comment in the chat, what sounds like quite a frustrated person about how conversations around the sort of water cooler and the coffee are not around sustainability. And I think, your examples that you've just given us there really help to see how we can sort of shift that, get people excited and sharing their stories around what they're doing in more sustainably would be something that, these schemes can really help. So hopefully we're starting to see how each of these phases of confidence, moving from foundational to functional, is connected, and that this is part of a journey. And you can find out where engaging your workforce and building climate confidence comes into your carbon reduction journey by downloading our Net Zero Guide, which you can see on screen the links to now. Now, at this point, if you're on that path and you've achieved that functional confidence, staff feel confident that they know why they have to change. They've grasped the key facts. They feel really empowered to take action. They've started to put things into practice. And there's a real sustainability culture in the organisation. And I think looking at that comment in the chat, it's about really, really establishing a sustainable culture where everyone feels proud and excited and wants to have those conversations on a regular basis. And I'd say if that's where you're sitting today and you can sit proudly at that stage, you're definitely getting into what we would identify as this trailblazer territory. And this is where you start to use your influence and that you let that ripple out across your industry, to your suppliers, your clients, your communities. But you do that in a way that you're leading from the front, openly sharing examples of what you're aiming for, what you've tried, what's worked, what's not worked, bringing industry and people together to share expertise and resources. And this is going to be key for us all to get to net zero and to grasp the problems that we have with the climate emergency. Because at this stage, your organisation is not only reducing its emissions, it's helping to combat the climate crisis and getting closer to that destination net zero. You may well be enjoying a whole host of co-benefits at this stage on taking action with carbon literacy and other schemes, but you're starting to stand out in your sector. You might consider developing your own training courses. Carbon literacy training courses can be developed for your specific sectors, industries, and even businesses. You may feel confident, like some of our clients did a few weeks ago, to join a Train the Trainer course and become a carbon literacy trainer yourselves, or lead training within and across your sector. And I think it's really important that you can do that, because this enables you to deliver in-house training, but also training across your supply chains. And you're going to feel that confidence maybe to go on and do talks at trade conferences, to bring your sector on that journey with you. And, we've seen this happen with several of our clients. And it's so great to see employees we've trained from a company a few months ago called Wernicke, who we see them going to give sustainability talks at NHS events, and they're very regularly speaking passionately about what they're doing to reduce emissions on social media and picking up industry awards for sustainability. I was so proud recently when Clearly Drinks, they're a manufacturing company who we helped become a carbon literate organisation, and they went and won the Environment and Sustainability Award in 2023 for the whole of the Northeast. And that was so much, with so much pride that we saw them pick that up. And we had clients recently on the Train the Trainer course who had gone through carbon literacy training with ourselves. We've been and delivered it to them across their workforce. But they felt confident enough to come and train trainers to then deliver training across their wider workforce and through their supply chains. So it's been so great to see these businesses really not just start to reduce emissions within their own businesses, but to widen out their influence, to become these trailblazers and have a much bigger impact than just their own businesses. I mean, Sonia, Amy, what do you feel, fits into this category?
Yeah, all of that is so great, Andrea. So one that really inspires us, and sadly we can't take any credit for, is the Chancery Lane project. I don't know whether you've all heard of it. So it's basically a global network of lawyers who've created a toolkit of climate and net zero aligned clauses for lawyers everywhere to use in their contracts for free. I was total genius. So it was founded by the general counsel at a law firm. And I mean, brilliant example, isn't it, of someone stepping up and helping shape their profession as a force for good, and that exponential influence that has.
Yeah, I love that example. And I suppose when we look at trailblazing outside of work, so we've had like some of our sprintees have written to us to say, right, I've got my friends coming over for breakfast on Sunday and we're all going to look at our pension investments and make them green, which is fab. I don't think they lost any friends through it. So that's a great story. But we've also had people rallying their local community groups to take action using what they've learned from the sprint. And that's really the DNA of change, isn't it? Like creating new social norms and really, I suppose, speaking to that question that we just had, starting a new culture where being sustainable is the norm, so that sustainable choices and behaviors just become the default. And that's the whole point of building climate confidence, like all of us talking about it, sharing ideas and challenges and resources, learning together and accelerating action. And it all starts with confidence in your own knowledge, in your own agency, and walking the talk yourself, and then finding these easy ways to get others on board.
Well, thank you so much for your time today, ladies. Amy, Sonia. It's been fantastic to get your insights into this really not just interesting but important topic, because getting to net zero, reducing emissions, combating the climate emergency isn't going to be one person's job in any organization. It's got to be, as Amy's just said there, it's got to be about creating a culture, and it's about taking everybody on this journey.
Oh, have we lost you, Andrea? We may have done. Whilst we wait for Andrea to come back, maybe we can just talk a bit to that question in more detail that we had. Thank you to the person who submitted it, who said that they're in the insurance sector where addressing climate change is a prominent concern. But despite the fact that many individuals are well informed about the issue, most of my co-workers do not take any action. It's rarely discussed casually, like during the coffee breaks where people share their experiences, such as flying to Ibiza for a day or attempting to visit 30 countries before turning 30. I think, yeah, I suppose to come back on that, that's not uncommon. Before people have truly connected to this as an issue, and before you start to kind of seed that culture where other people are starting to go, do you know what? Actually, I used to fly about all the time, but now I've set myself this like personal goal where I'm going to reduce what I did last year by 50%. And I'm going to start there. And then I'm going to do this other thing. And when you can start to like share those stories and create that kind of normal amongst the workforce, I think that's really powerful. But the other thing that we spend quite a lot of time on is getting the non-greenies engaged in the first place. And you've got to play to like self-interest for that kind of thing. Maybe they're not going to come along to a talk that's about the environment and is just sort of billed as that and that's that. But, what if you could play to the fact that they could save loads of money if they took some of these actions, or maybe there's a prize to be had, or there's some sort of a cross-team competition. Like, you've got to bear in mind, not everyone's going to wake up thinking about this as much as we'd like them to. So how can we coax them in? Anyway, sorry, Andrea, you're back, so I'll pass back to you.
Thank you, Amy, and it's great that you addressed that comment in the chat there, which I think you're not alone. I would say I think there's probably a lot of people who feel frustrated, and it is about getting people on this journey. I hope that you found today's episode useful to you. If you do want to connect with any of us, please sort of follow the links. Please get in touch. You can see on screen now is the Couch to Carbon Zero links. I'm sure that the ladies there would really love to hear from you and how they can support you with your frustrations. But thank you for your time. Please tune in a couple of weeks' time to our next episode, where we will be discussing are nature-based solutions part of the answer to net zero. Thank you.
Thanks ever so much.